Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am working on another page. What I showed you was that I ran a piece of cardstock through an embossing folder, and I'm going to make a pocket with that. So I'm just sizing it to the page, and I want to add some color to the raised area, so I'm pulling out some different reds. And I'm just going to go ahead and lightly scrape the ink pad across it so that it only picks up in the raised areas. And I'm not sure what colors look like what, so I kind of like test it out on the back. And I do like that first one, and it really brightened it up. But I think later on it kind of like sunk in, and I ended up getting a pink out and going over it a bit. I guess the color just soaked into that cardstock. But it still helps. Any little bit of color still helped, show that raised, embossing. So I'm going to use my art glitter glue to glue down 3 sides for the pocket. And what I'm going to do, what my plans are, is to make like a flip up. And I'm going to stick it in the pocket. And then I'm going to make a tag later on to stick behind it. So I like using these vintage music paper for the flip ups. They're pretty strong and sturdy, except for when you bend them. I do like to glue down some cotton, muslin, whatever you call it, to help, reinforce it, because it does crack a little bit. But it's still really strong, sturdy paper, so I know it'll hold the embellishment that I plan on putting on top of it. I had already sprayed it with coffee a while ago, so it's coffee stained. And then of course I love to do the edges with the Distress in Vintage Photo. Now I've done this differently. On this time I'm tearing apart 2 separate pieces. Other times I've just torn out one long strip, and then it'll fold in the middle. But sometimes that fold will buckle, and I think that's why this time I decided to do it in 2 separate pieces. Although the buckling is not, it doesn't seem perfect, and I shouldn't strive for perfection. See, I still struggle with this. No matter how many times I tell y'all, don't worry about it, I still struggle with it. So if the paper buckles when you bend it, it's okay. I have to keep telling my brain that. So I'm just going to use the glue stick here to glue those pieces down. And of course I distress the edges, and it really makes them stand out and ages it well. And then I'm just going to sew around it for decoration after I glue a piece of this muslin here. And you can also use like a washi tape on the right there on the fold. That also will help it last over time. I just like the vintage kind of antique look with the fabric. And you can even do both sides if you want it more stable. It just adds more bulk when you put it on the inside though. And here my little quarter punch gets stuck, so I just poke it through. There we go. Gotta remember to edge. So I've sewn around it, and I'm going to trim off that a little bit. Then I'm going to get ready to decorate the front. And I go through different stages of what I want. This piece is a huge tablecloth, and I had to try to find the part where I've already started cutting on it. So that's going to be a layer. I thought it was going to be my first layer. Later on, I add a piece of cardstock behind it. And I just remembered that we used to do that with tablecloths. We used to put down a layer of fabric and then put the lace tablecloth over it, and so the fabric shone through. And after I did this, I realized, well, that must have been in my brain somewhere. So I went on Pinterest today and look at all the beautiful pictures I found. I was looking for pictures, that would have the same colors as this journal. And this journal is a digital kit by Artie Mays called Foxglove Bliss. And it's got beautiful, beautiful images in it and pages. And I just like decorating. That little piece there on the left, that's part of the kit. It's one of the background pieces. And I probably need to print out some more of it. She's got like 3 or 4 background pieces. I don't know if that's called the mask or not. But it's great to just print those out on just regular paper so you can tear it up easily and use them for the background pieces when you're collaging. And you don't even have to just use it for this journal. Mix and match. When I first started doing these, I thought I had to use all the pieces from one kit and one designer. And, I didn't know if I was breaking the rule and they were going to arrest me. But then I learned it's like, no, you can mix and match, Probably not if you're on like a design team. They don't want you to use somebody else's too much. But design teamwork would be too stressful for me. So I just have fun. And here I'm just layering and seeing what goes well. And that little piece, I learned how to tat last month. And needle tat instead of the shuttle tat. Because I just thought those little pieces were cute. And I have a lot of crocheted pieces, but I wanted something more open, I guess you would say. And that was fun to learn. So I'm really happy that I'm able to go ahead and incorporate it into my journal. So you can see there, I decided to use, well, no, maybe not there. Oh, this is where I wanted something else. And I didn't have the right color of cheesecloth. I couldn't find it in my scrap bucket. And then I go through and just make a bunch of different colors here. And they're not going to go to waste because I'm still going to use them somewhere, or in the future, at least I have them. But the funny thing is, after I finish dyeing all this new cheesecloth, I found the color I was looking for in another bucket. So, like I said, this is not going to waste. And it was just a trial and error, seeing what colors I had and how they would turn out and how it would match the images that I have on that little collage. So I'm just going between Lindy's sprays and some distress inks and seeing what color they turn out. Now it's real important when you're doing dyeing this way, make sure you wet your cheesecloth. It helps absorb that ink so much better. My little finger was getting a little tired. And even after I stopped the camera, I went ahead and cut some pieces of different lace that I had. White and cream lace. And I used those same colors to try to match the journal colors. So at least I would have those at the ready, and I wouldn't have to go through a dyeing session again. But look at those pink fingers. They're so cute. Even that piece of, the paper towel there that I used to wipe up all the excess, that comes out so pretty at the end. And I show it real quick. It's got reds and pinks. And I'm going to save it. Once it's dry, I can use it in my art journal, as part of a collage. You know, it's a different texture, and it's pretty. So when you're doing these kind of things, nothing goes to waste. I didn't know if y'all wanted to see this or not. I was debating whether to cut it out, but it just shows the process. You know, you try and see what you have, see if that comes out right. You can mix a couple of colors. I know Artie Mae, she knows her color wheel well. She knows what to use if she wants something lighter or darker. I can't retain that information, so mine is just trial and error. Oh, so I finish up off camera, dyeing all the pieces, and this is where I decide to use that the same burgundy cardstock as I used for the pocket. And I think it just makes it look a whole lot prettier. Like I said, it gives that effect of our old tables when we put the tablecloths over it. So I cut this to size, and I'm rounding the corners. I wasn't sure, that's why I have that little scallop punch there. And then, of course, in angel fashion, once I go to glue it down, I can't remember which way it goes. So I figure it out. See, one, was it this way? No, was it this way? No, was it that way? Yeah, let's just go with this. So here we go. And that'll also help hold, since I'm putting all the weight on that top flap, it'll help keep it closed like it's supposed to. Oh, pretty tablecloth. And this is the cheesecloth that I found in another bucket. And I could have sworn I looked first, but it was underneath something else. And so I was searching for something, and I lifted it up, and I was like, well, look at there. But I needed some reds. I don't have a lot of red lace or cheesecloth, you know, in different shades. So like I said, it wasn't a wasted effort. So here I'm just kind of deciding how I want things laid out, and it's not looking right, you know, something up that top right corner. And I figure, well, let me use that pink button that I pulled out yesterday. And it's still not looking right. And I finally figure what it needs is just a little more cheesecloth. And that helps satisfy my mind. Sometimes you just gotta play with what you have. And I wasn't happy even after I laid that down. It just seemed like something was missing, and I wasn't sure what. And I'm thinking, well, maybe I can put a word there, but I know I haven't printed out new words. All the good words have already been used, and I didn't feel like stopping and starting up the computer. So I had these little quotes and stuff that I typed up and printed out. And a lot of them are, you know, inspirational. I was using those a lot in my art journal. I'm almost afraid I don't know what people want in their junk journals, whether they want inspirational quotes or nature quotes or something. And I had typed up some nature quotes, but I think I used it up. So I've got to reprint those next time I turn on the laptop. So now I'm happy, you know, everything seems more balanced, you know, once I put that little quote there. It was just missing something, and that white helps break it up. I'm not quite sure why my brain likes it. I have those labels from Tracy Fox, and I do use them, and I do use it on the pocket later, but it just didn't seem right this time. I guess I just wanted something white without the borders that she prints. All I'm focusing on is my pink fingers. They're so colorful. It washes off in a day or two, you know, especially as many times as I have to wash my hands because I get glue on them all the time. So it'll come off. just in case anybody's stressing. And if anybody ever says something, you just proudly say, well, that's because I am an artist. They're supposed to look this way. There you go. That's my excuse. So I had that little pink bling, and that blended in well, and that was just the finishing touch that it needed. I try to get some of that bling in all colors, because you just never know. So of course I needed to stamp up that background. It needed something, even though a lot of it's going to be covered once I make the tag, I still wanted the parts that we're going to show. I love, having that stamped cursive. It's just cursive writing. So I found this little scrap of lace, and it was wide, and I thought, well, why waste it? Because that is a Tim Holtz cutout. I knew that was going to be covering most of it, so I said, well, let me cut it in half. That way I can use it somewhere else, possibly in this journal. So there's one of those Tracy Fox's labels I was telling you about. Like I said, I could have used one of those, but I remembered I had those phrases and quotes printed out, so I need to use those too. And something is still missing on this pocket, and I decided later to add some lace on that top part. And you would think, my first thought was, I need it to be in the same red. But it was just so much red going on that I went ahead and went with the cream. And I was a little worried that, will this match? But then, when I lay it down, it's like, yeah, it breaks it up some. And it, of course it matches with the paper, from the flip up. And so I'm glad I went ahead and tried it instead of just thinking everything has to be in the reds there. You can break up your colors. And you can really just add anything. I don't think you can go wrong with lace. It's going to make it look pretty. So definitely give different colors a try, There we go. Pretty happy with that. So now I'm going to work on the tag. I needed a large tag, to cover up that whole page. And this is a piece that I was printing out today when I ran out of ink. I was printing these out to use as journaling cards. So never throw away something. I knew I could reuse it. It would be perfect for tags. Or even another journaling card, because you just glue something over, the printed part. So I got it the right size. And I have this piece of digital kit from Antique Papery. And her kits just match so many other, kits from different people. Because, it's just pretty colors, and they're kind of generic in a way, just flowers and butterflies. And so that just matches everything, right? So it had the colors that I wanted to match that page. So I'm just going to glue this cardboard piece down onto it. And I cut off the excess white just to help me line it up better. So this is actually a pretty quick tab because there's not a whole lot to decorate because it's already so pretty. But I do add a grommet or eyelet and some trim on top, and then I also add a button and some lace. So here I noticed that there's a little white piece. The image wasn't tall enough, and so that's why I trimmed that off, and then I'm recutting the little edges to make it look like a tag. And I do distress the edges, and I do sew around it. I just like that look. Plus, it also secures the page to the cardstock. So here I'm just going through. That's some of the lace that I went ahead and dyed earlier when I was doing the cheesecloth. And those big pieces, that big piece, I believe I got from AliExpress. I was about to say Hobby Lobby. I know they have some huge pieces, but I believe that one just came from AliExpress. And that button, I mean, that was just perfect. That was in my stash. There you go. I was deciding where to put that little piece. So I just put it all around until I like it. It doesn't have to be on top and bottom. It could just be in the middle. You could just slap it anywhere. It just adds another interest. And it doesn't have to mean anything. See, look at that pretty paper towel. So, that is it. You know, we got a lot done with this one. 3 pieces. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and happy crafting. Bye-bye.